Hi class, welcome to your Research Methods class in your Assistive Technology Studies and Human Services course. I'm excited to have the opportunity to teach this class with you. My name is Jennifer Kalfsbeek-Goetz. You can just call me Jennifer. And I am really thrilled to be here. As I mentioned in my online introduction in text, I describe my history with the program. In 2008 or 9, several of us got together across the CSUN campus, mostly faculty and some staff and some deans, to talk about building a couple of partner programs in assistive technology. One focused on engineering and computer science, and the other focused on where most people are impacted, and that is in the human services area. So our focus was an assistive technology degree that really looked at how people, society, and humans are impacted by the assistive technology work that we do. Out of that came the Master of Science in Assistive Technology Studies and Human Services. And we have attracted since then cohorts with people who have backgrounds in teaching, K through 12 as well as college. Folks who work in disability student service areas in colleges and universities, many speech-language pathology specialists and counselors, therapists, even an insurance agent. So people who work with people who want to gain a better, more empirical understanding of assistive technology, how we can better use it to assist people with disabilities, and how we are using it and determining if it's effective or what we can do differently to assist people with disabilities. One thing we know is most of us, if we live past the age 40, will at some point experience a disability if we don't before that time. Probably 95% of us will be disabled, at least temporarily, at some point in our time. And sometimes it's not until those moments that we realize how valuable things like assistive technology can be. Also, we've learned that we can take for granted things that were once AT devices. My favorite example of that, of course, is the television remote control. My kid doesn't even know what a TV with buttons on it would look like, and if she was presented one, she wouldn't know how to use it. So that AT device became something that we all use and recognize as being practical. And that's what we know about accommodations and establishing equity and establishing ways in which everyone can learn or everyone can access something. Usually when we create something as an assistive technology device, or we do anything to level the playing field for all people to have access to school, to an institution, to a building, to an opportunity, we've actually made life in the world better for everyone who might utilize it. So that's what's exciting about this program on the more global level. More specifically, when we think about this class, the Research Methods class, I know that many of you are probably a bit nervous about it. Usually people come with a bit of trepidation. They see that the word statistics is used occasionally, and there's some fear about that. There's a reason you choose the Human Services track and not the Engineering and Computer Science track. And I want to assure you that research can be really fun. First of all, we're not going to focus on writing literature reviews, so you'll have to do a literature review as part of your research. That just supports the theory of what you're doing. What you're really going to do is plan to study something empirically that has not been studied in the way that you're going to study it. And that's really the challenge, is figuring out, are the things that we're doing working? Are they not working? How so and why? Or if I tried this method, this tool, this application, with this particular population of people, would it work? How so? And why not? And what next? Those are the kinds of things that we do when we're thinking about research design and research methodology. And statistics is a very small part of that. You won't be learning a lot about statistics. We'll touch on it a little bit. The main challenge will be wrapping your head around creating a researchable, doable project, and then potentially discarding it. Because in this class, what we do is we write the proposal for that project. We don't do the project. That would be too much in one class. If you go on to do a doctorate, you could use this project as the foundation for your dissertation. Or in the workplace, if you do an evaluation study, you may be asked by your employer, or you may propose to an employer to be able to do that study for them. There are a lot of ways in which it can be applied. What's critical is that you leave this program and this class understanding empirical original research. And so we're going to make sure you understand that not only by reading and studying the different types of research designs and methodologies, but also by designing your own study that you may or may not complete. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I come with a social sciences background and started in psychology, learning all about experimental design and a little bit about surveys, but that was the research methods focus. And I loved research so much that I actually did an undergraduate or bachelor's thesis on encoding and decoding biases, all about discrimination and prejudice. Then I went on to do my master's degree at the University of Maryland. It was in applied sociology, and it focused on health and sociology. And so, in fact, it was called a medical sociology master's degree in applied sociology. And the focus there, the applied element of it, again, was research. I worked on several research projects when I was there, on an Alzheimer's service use project among African American families, because it had been noted that African American families were less likely to use traditional service providers and services out there as they work with their family members who have Alzheimer's than people who are not African American. So the overriding research questions were there some cultural differences, or were there other barriers that were keeping African American populations from using those services? I then spent some time on a National Institute of Health, or NIH, funded grant, in fact, the largest grant that had been given to the university at that point in time, for the Baltimore Women's Health Study, in which we studied how different life events, as they interrelate with socioeconomic status, can impact one's health and well-being. So we looked at things like domestic violence, past sexual violence, and other kinds of violence in women's lives. We looked also at socioeconomic status, having a field office in downtown Baltimore where it was heavily trafficked with prostitution, drugs, and drug trafficking. We also went into middle-class neighborhoods, and we went into upper middle-class neighborhoods. And we compared the life experiences of these folks, their barriers to health care, their issues with health, both mental health and physical health, and how these different things were linked, including looking at things like mental health and HIV and AIDS and the likelihood that they would contract these things as it relates to having different life events. It was a longitudinal study, and I got to work on that as their project manager for about a year. Prior to that, doing research collection and data collection. A very exciting study and something I'll talk about a little bit in our class. After that, I did some action research and case study work when I was doing homeless outreach in Minneapolis. And since then, I've moved on to California. As many of you will learn, I've been teaching for 26 years, but I have also been in an administrative role now for 13 years, 12 or 13 years. And so I have the opportunity to stay in the classroom like this, but also research things focused on students and families dealing with disability, as well as an area of interest that I have, which is leadership, and really understanding effective leadership and what that looks like. I think we're going to have a good time in this class. It's very fun. I've had students come into it with trepidation and leave saying it was the most meaningful class for them. I've also had students come in, learn what they could, and say, I'm really glad that was done. I've got some learning. I'm going to avoid research methods if I can. I'm hoping to have more of you in the former category and few of you in the latter category. Okay, I look forward to meeting you and getting to know you this semester. Thank you.